Hey, this is Venium.
And this is HoT Ho11oW PoiNT, and we're here with the Supreme Commander 2013 mod. We're doing a little cast here of a game between two of the mod's playtesters, one of which is me, HoT Ho11oW PoiNT, and the other of which is Bravest Asian. So I'll throw it back to Venium, and we can get this started.
Okay.
So we've got Chrono, aka Bravest Asian Alive, on the left side here, playing as Cybran. He's starting out with 2 land factories. Queuing up a few of his mass extractors after that as well. Now heading over to the other side, we got HoT Ho11oW PoiNT, as that's me as the Aeon. Also starting out with 2 land factories, and also have my mass extractors queued up. So one thing that Supreme Commander 2 veterans will notice is that you no longer start with engineers. Helps to slow the game down a little bit, as well as to make it so that ACU rushing is not such a prevalent strategy, at least early game. So both players will probably start out with their 2 land factories and a couple engineers in order to get the build capacity to be able to spread out, get the extra power generation that they need, and claim their nearby mass extractors. So that's exactly what's happening so far. You can see players have claimed their mass extractors.
Set up position with 2 factories on either side. 5 mass.
Now you'll notice that Bravest Asian as the Cybran has built a few extra power generators. That's because the Cybrans start with mass conversion right off the start without needing to research it. So he could use that to accent his economy. And pushing star will take you back to normal game speed. Both players are sort of doing a dance with their ACU, trying to sort of get some pot shots off, but also avoiding each other somewhat for the time being. Now, Cybrans start with the Brackman mobile artillery, which is great to use against the other faction's tank blobs, since Cybran don't have a tank of their own, only assault bots and artillery to start. So you just got a little bit of a glimpse there of Chrono's base. He is expanding his power generation economy. Looks like he's going to make use of that Cybran mass conversion. Ho11oW PoiNT, as the Aeon player, is also building extra power in order to facilitate running Mass Extractor Overdrive, one of the Aeon's new abilities in the mod, which lets them trade excess power for mass. Use that in combination with Electroshock and you get a good combination. Sorry for cutting you off, what were you going to say?
We've got a backup of Aeon on the battlefield. Kind of wins the buildup of Brackman, prevented early aggression to some degree.
Yeah, Brackman are great against large blobs, but put them up against something like an ACU, just one hardened target that's got lots of HP and can deal some good DPS, and they're going to get destroyed.
This is a snapshot of Bravest Asian's base. Here's HoT Ho11oWPoiNT's progress.
Now both players look like they're trying to build up a rather large land force. So the advantage that each faction has at that point would be that Cybern gets the Brackman mobile artillery, which is useful against large groups of units. And the Aeon gets extra tough tanks in the form of shields and extra regen. So it's not like either faction really has a solid 100% advantage here, and if they did, each faction also has decent defenses early game to ward off at least smaller units, which pushes the game back towards needing a couple super weapons here and there. Once again, the Siren player's taking some pot shots with the artillery. Getting a couple kills. Oh, that's some loyalty tanks I see coming from the Aeon player. You have to keep in mind, even though this is me playing the game, this replay is probably from about a month ago, so I barely remember what happens. So those loyalty tanks are going to capture any units that get too close, any units of the Bravest Asian. As you can see, also they capture through the mountains, making them ideal against anything that arc fires, since Aeon doesn't really have anything of their own that arc fires other than their MMLs. There's a sweet camera angle for you. Yeah, you can see a couple of units that strayed too close that did get captured. So now Bravest Asian's falling back a little bit. Brackman are more than enough at this moment, at least, to keep away those Aeon tanks. Especially when they're backed up with adapters. with good micromanagement with his ACU, taking some of the DPS there away from the tanks, while his Brackman pound away from the back lines there. Has to run away though, because he starts getting low on health. At the same time though, the Aeon player is getting low on tanks. Definitely see that I'm being the more aggressive player as the Aeon, at least so far in this game. And I think that just has to do with the starting build order, because Bravest Asian chose to do a couple more power generators and get some mass conversions, so he was obviously planning for the late game. Whereas I went for the straight rush to try to be aggressive and keep him from expanding out and claiming his front mass extractors in the other bases.
Is quite balanced. No one's really pushing far ground, they're just holding their bases. See some fast econ buff to Bravest Asian. And some commander action. Build up of LOL tanks for a hull point.
So you can see that Bravest Asian's ACU there has a little bit of a glow to him, because he is probably going for the nanobot upgrade and has the power shunt in the meantime.
Both teams are amassing quite large armies with quite good econ for base building. 3 experimental factories going up for Bravest Asian.
Yeah, it could be argued that the Cyberman faction needs their minor experimental units the most out of any of the other factions, since they lack a main battle tank, which the Aeon and the UEF can both just spam and usually get enough DPS, whereas the Loyalists of the Siren as their soul pods, maybe not so much.
Got a rush right on all points. The roll tanks are coming.
Now the name of the game in the mod is sort of trying to expand as far as possible and hold your expansions. Just like with the new Subcom 2 vanilla patch that came out, the latest patch of the mod adds mass extractor veterancy, so that the longer you have your mass extractors, the more mass they produce for you. Yeah, he does have quite a few point defense built up there. Maybe if you turn on the UI for a second, you can zoom in on the bases and check out the defenses.
RDF beat great on Bravest Asian.
Yeah, he does have the defense for the tanks now in the form of the nanobot weapon on his ACU. So, with addition of the point defenses that he has in his base, he does seem to have everything on the front line locked down there. If he could get some artillery up in the background and pound away at my base, it would be beneficial to him.
Got a large, highly researched army on all points.
Yeah, like I said, this game's probably about a month old, so I don't remember exactly what happened. But by the looks of it, I definitely have shields at least, and probably damage upgrades. Still though, like I mentioned, it's hard to crack a good solid base with just tier 1 units like that. You need to get an experimental for its longer range, or bare minimum tier 2 for its higher DPS and splash damage, and more resiliency.
got quite a lot of research and energy supporting HoT Ho11oW factories. Full resistance on both sides. Bravest Asian has the energy reserves, which are probably paramount to Cybern's success in the game. Whereas A1
Yeah,
has the
Cyber can
research.
always use whatever extra energy they have. Those are a couple of pretty big armies we're seeing though. Now sort of the key, like I said, is expanding. I think because I took those front mexes there, we'll see if I'm able to hold them. But that's a big factor in making sure that you're able to take and hold to your map control is getting some factories around the mass extractors so you can put shields on them and make sure that they're pumping out lots of mass to your late game. Yeah, a lot of people might ask which faction is the best in order to camp with. But all I can really say is it all depends on how you play and which units you choose to upgrade to unlock. Cybern with the Recycler, which now also repulses units, along with the Point Defense Overdrive. And their awesome shields can really hold down their own base. UEF though gets the guns on their mass extractors and their research stations and the experimental shields. So they can get sort of out of control with their defense as well. Especially when you include the light artillery. And Aeon between the tactical missiles and the electroshock and the new ability to have research stations spawn nanites. If you combine that with their already long-range point defense and their shields, which can also absorb and turn damage into energy, so in a sense they add to your economy. It's hard to say which faction is the best at camping. quite a bit of destruction there in front of Bravest Asian's base. A lot of scorched earth there. Seems to be sort of how the whole game's gone though, with me as the Aeon player being quite aggressive, making sure Bravest Asian's held back in his base. And you can see that Universal Colossus, just that poor thing's taken tons of fire from point defense. Tried to get some nanites there to help him, but not nearly in time. You can see my ACU has overcharge now too, just pounding away at Bravest Asian's front line. Now it takes roughly 3 energy generators to equal 1 mass extractor. If you include the mass conversion numbers, so imagine how many mass extractors Bravest Asian would equate to, because he probably looks like he's got about 100 to 150 power generators. So both players with rather large bases, as you can see with the icons turned on there, like you had them. Oh, a loyalty gun going up at the front. I forgot about that. Both players with a really hunkered down in their bases, but the Aeon player, myself, being a little more aggressive in the middle, trying to destroy and at least push back what he can of this huge economy. Yeah, and a giant swarm of nanites, as you can see too. Those megaliths, though, are just gonna rip those nanites apart by the look of it. That Universal Colossus is taking a lot of damage, but also getting a lot of repairs from those nanites. Now it looks like the megaliths might be pushing the middle. It'd be a good time to, if any. Well, choosing instead to go after the ACU, not a horrible choice, but that unit's got a lot of mobility. Nanite Swarm heading for Chrono, he's got to look out because those things each do 5,000 damage. Another overcharge from the Aeon ACU. Another loyalty gun up, despite the fact that the one in the middle went down. There's one on the flank now, as well as another one in production. Multi-fronted battles happening here. Oh, 2 loyalty guns up now, and a 3rd in production. Some artillery pounding away though, in the back of the base. And a few magnetrons up. I don't know if I ever saw those as I was playing this actual game at this point in time. They could potentially be dangerous if I happen to wander too close.
Well, we got quite a few pushing inside of the base. They like kept it really essential for the one side's experiment.
Yeah, Chrono could have done better in protecting his flank there as the Cybran. A few more point defense maybe to ward off, but I have been offensive all game, so it must have been hard for him to find the space to be able to pull stuff off. If he had been able to use those gantries to maybe pull out a C-Rex or even a Monkey Lord, he could have turned the tide of this game.
Now we're also dealing with
Yeah, well, that was a tough way to find out about those magnetrons.
and that's game.